So we are in the middle of Christmas rehearsals because we have today is Sunday, so things start in less than a week. But even though we are in Christmas rehearsals, I'll talk about Rachmaninoff.
I'd be happy to talk about Rachmaninoff.
Yeah, I figured that, yeah. So with Rachmaninoff, it's this piece that when we told the singers that we were going to be performing it, all of them went, "Oh, we're going to do the Rachmaninoff." And when we told the audiences that we were going to do the Rachmaninoff, they all went, "Oh, you're going to do the Rachmaninoff." Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about what is so exciting about the Rachmaninoff?
Yeah, boy, you're right. It is equally exciting, I think, as a singer and as a listener. And so I think one of the reasons that it's always met with such excitement and has kind of earned such meaning for lovers and singers of choral music is because of a lot of things. One of which is that there just aren't a whole lot of works for a cappella choir that are sort of concert length. Mm-hmm. So the Vespers, more properly called All-Night Vigil, lasts about 70 minutes or so. It's 15 movements of a cappella choral singing. And I think that as a singer, since you asked about that first, as a singer, it's a challenge. The music is easy to invest in. It kind of speaks directly. It's just also a marathon for singers. And so it's a real journey over the course of 70 minutes or so of pacing and of voice and of spirit and concentration and of listening and all of the, ensemble disciplines. The music itself is very beautiful and very vocal. I think it's particularly interesting that this piece is so decidedly characterized by the quality of the low voices. I think that's kind of fun too because it features the bass section, the alto section so prominently in terms of color and leading material. And in some ways, especially for the basses, just lowness of pitch.
How long does it go?
Yeah, so this work really can't be done unless you've got a real profundo bass or maybe more than one. We will have a small handful of those folks. And at the end of the fifth movement, which is sort of made famous because of this descending scale that the basses do, all the way down to a low B flat. And it can't quite be just a sort of fuzzy grumble. It needs to be really, really present. And so people who know the work look forward to that moment a lot. Basses who've sung the work know that, that's sort of what they hang their hat on is that movement. There are other places in the work too that are equally important, but that one stands out. As a listener, boy, I have sung it, I have conducted it, I have listened to it. And as a listener, I think the thing that is so amazing about this piece is that while it is a work that is specifically religious, it is a liturgical text, it combines all of the liturgical texts that take us from the evening through the morning. And for someone who knows those texts or is maybe steeped in liturgical history and culture, that could be meaningful by itself. But I don't think that that's necessary in order to come and be immediately impacted by this piece. In fact, I don't come from that tradition myself, and I had no trouble immediately falling in love with this piece. And mainly, it's just an opportunity to set everything aside, to come into a space with other people, to be away from your phone, away from distractions, away from obligations, and to just be still and be quiet for a long time, and to receive the sound, to just take that in and let it be with you and over you, and let you just kind of be enveloped by the sound of the choir. It's a meditative experience. Even if you don't know the specific word meanings in Church Slavonic, which is essentially a Russian liturgical language. So I think listeners love it because it's so distinct. It's a cappella, it's long, it's deep, in two ways: deep-hearted, deep-spirited, but also deep, intoned. So there's a lot of ways in, and I just hope that even if you don't know the work and maybe you've peripherally heard of it, that you'll take this opportunity. If I were out recruiting audience members, I would just say, just come and give it 70 minutes of your life and see how you can be affected by this music.
And this is a piece that Rachmaninoff himself, even though he was a pianist, people mostly know him for his piano works. This is one of the pieces that was the highlight, he thought, of his own repertoire. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting too, for a guy that we associate mostly with piano and instrumental music, that the two pieces that he felt proudest of were this one and a choral orchestral piece called The Bells. Both of them involve choir and language. In many ways, this piece, the Rachmaninoff All-Night Vigil, is a culmination of a lot of history of Russian Orthodox Church music. Because it was just a couple of years later that the revolution in Russia happened and sacred choral music was forbidden, essentially. And so people look at this work as kind of the apex of a tradition that all led to the moment that we got Rachmaninoff handling these beautiful chant-inspired texts.
And so you've mentioned the word Church Slavonic a few times. And so talk a little bit about that and, how is it difficult for the singers to be able to navigate? Is it a language that you often sing in?
Yeah, it's not uncommon, especially because a lot of our singers are trained in kind of lots of different vocal ways. Many of them are trained as soloists, most of them in fact, and have probably sung Russian language at some point before. Church Slavonic is kind of the ecclesiastical version of that. And we fortunately don't have to read Cyrillic characters. There have been Romanized versions of the text that are made for Western singers to be able to handle. And the good thing about it is the language is so Italianate, really, vowel-wise. So vowel-wise, we have no trouble. There are shades of vowels that, but are related to ones we know. A little bit different consonants here and there, but it's nothing, that's really tough on the singers. It's just kind of once you're in it, then everything becomes that language, and it starts to kind of sing itself in that way.
So you said, of course, we're going to have a handful of guest artists that are coming in, and the choir for this is actually going to be 36. So this is the largest choir that Orpheus has been, and I think it's been for a while, at least since I've been around. Orpheus has never been 36 singers. So what does that do when you're thinking about the sound and the balance and everything, going from, we had 16 with Horizons, we've got 24 for Christmas, and now I'm going to 36 with Rachmaninoff. Right,
yeah. So one of the reasons that I wanted to enhance the size of the choir for this project was because as I hear it, the depth of sound for this music is so fulfilling when you've just got more voices. Certainly I have sung it with as few as 16, or maybe not the whole thing, but I know that's done with some regularity. I just prefer the depth of sound and tone that comes with a greater number of singers. And it's also in some ways with some sort of compassion for the singers themselves, because this is a lot of work. It's hard. Vocally, so much sustain, so much kind of sostenuto, legato, long breathed phrases that go on and on. And so just having more...
Well, safety in numbers.
Essentially. Yeah, you just can sort of link arms and say together, we go forward in this. And I think singers like that too. And what it does is, from a singer standpoint, is, they're not threadbare by the end in the same way that they are if they're just, a couple on a part. Because they don't have to carry the full burden for the entire time, and it just has a way of working itself out. Still, we will be tired at the end, all of us, but I just appreciate the sonority so much when we've got more singers.
Yeah. And so then this, of course, is the final concert of 29. So when you were thinking of it's sort of a runway into year 30 a little bit. So of all of the pieces, what made you, that you could have picked to kind of launch year 30, what made you decide to go with Rachmaninoff?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the cool things about Orpheus, and specifically Orpheus, but other choirs like Orpheus, is that we can sing many, many different things, across the choral canon that spans many, many centuries. So I wanted to pick something that would be kind of a mountaintop experience for singers and listeners, and one that celebrated the talents of our singers, the things that I feel Orpheus does really well. I think we're a good match for the all-night vigil, and I think people will love hearing Orpheus in this setting with a few more singers. And it's a celebration of a cappella choral music, which is in many ways what Orpheus has been devoted to for 30 years now, almost. So I think that's why. It's a marquee piece for sure, but it's also a celebration of the very art form.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. I know the singer's excited. I'm pretty sure you're excited.
I am.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to hearing the singers that I know here in Dallas engage with this music. And to welcome guests from outside who will join our ranks for this project, and in some ways deepen it and enhance it just by their presence, and vice versa. I think I just love the opportunity to interact with new music friends and colleagues, and I think that'll be an enriching part of the experience as well.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be an exciting March, so I can't wait.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
I'm hoping everybody will show up and just celebrate Orpheus and Rachmaninoff.
Yeah. Hope you'll join us.